"You're just a little too unpredictable for a formal family event like this," my mom said, her tone laced with that polite cruelty she'd perfected over the years. She stood in my apartment doorway, clutching her handbag like a shield, as if it could protect her from the conversation she didn't want to have. "Unpredictable," I repeated slowly, lowering my coffee mug. "That's the new word for embarrassing, I guess." Mom sighed, dramatically, ironically enough. "Please, Lillian, don't start. You know how elegant Ethan and Grace's wedding is going to be. Everyone's been working so hard to make it perfect, and, well, we just can't risk any unnecessary tension." I stared at her. Everyone, except me. My entire family had been invited to my cousin Grace's luxurious vineyard wedding in Sonoma. Everyone except me. I'm Lillian, 28 years old, a digital content creator based in Seattle. Apparently, that makes me too much. Or maybe it's because I stopped pretending everything in our family was perfect. When my uncle made a cruel joke at Thanksgiving, I called him out. When my aunt belittled my sister's career, I told her to back off.
So, yes.
Maybe I am unpredictable, but at least I'm honest. "I wish Grace the best," I said finally, keeping my tone calm and steady. "I'm sure it'll be picture perfect." Mom blinked, clearly surprised by my composure. "You're not upset?" "Why would I be?" I asked, pretending to check something on my phone. "You've made it clear that my presence might ruin the aesthetic." Inside, though, my chest ached. It wasn't just about missing the wedding. It was about being deliberately left out by my own family. And the fact that my mother was the one delivering the message made it sting even more. "It's nothing personal, sweetheart," she added gently. "Grace just wants a stress-free celebration, and you know how passionate you can be." "Passionate," I echoed softly, smiling without humor.
Right.
That's one way to put it. When she finally left, my apartment fell silent. I sat on my couch, phone in hand, staring at the perfectly curated photos on Grace's engagement page. Smiling faces, champagne toasts, hashtags like #GracefullyEverAfter. Every image screamed perfection. Every caption whispered exclusion. I'd spent years trying to fit into their world of flawless appearances.
But now?
I didn't feel small anymore. I felt something else, something electric. If they thought I was too dramatic, maybe it was time to show them what real drama looked like. Because they had no idea what was coming next. What they didn't know was that the uninvited cousin was about to steal the spotlight, without even stepping inside their precious wedding. The next morning, I tried to distract myself with work, but every click, every scroll led me back to one thing: Grace's wedding. My social feed was already flooded with countdown posts and, behind-the-scenes, teasers from my relatives. Everyone seemed ecstatic. Everyone, except me, the ghost they'd conveniently edited out. I shut my laptop and grabbed my phone just as a message popped up from my best friend, Nora. "Brunch today? I need to vent about a client from hell." Perfect timing. Nora was a wedding planner, one of the best in Seattle, and the only person who could make me laugh when life felt like a bad script. At the cafe, she waved me over with her usual dramatic flair. "Girl, you look like someone just told you brunch was canceled forever. What's wrong?" I hesitated. My family decided I'm too unpredictable for Grace's wedding. I'm officially uninvited. Nora froze mid-sip.
Wait.
They uninvited you? What? Did you ruin a rehearsal dinner in a past life? I laughed bitterly.
No.
I just stopped letting them walk all over me. Apparently, that's dangerous. Her eyes narrowed. You've got to be kidding. You're the most grounded person I know.
Passionate, yes.
But unpredictable? Please. I shrugged. They say I bring drama. Maybe they're not wrong. Nora leaned forward, lowering her voice. You know what? Maybe they're right, but not for the reason they think. You do bring drama, the kind that makes people listen. The kind that changes things. Her words lingered in my mind long after brunch. Back home, I opened Grace's wedding website out of morbid curiosity. It was a digital shrine to perfection, silver and blush theme, vineyard photo shoots, a string quartet for the ceremony. Everything screamed magazine spread. And yet, the more I stared at it, the more disconnected it all felt. It wasn't about love. It was about image, about control. Then a thought hit me. If I couldn't attend their perfect wedding, maybe I could create something better. Something real. I didn't know what that meant yet, but the idea lit a spark inside me. For the first time in days, I smiled. They thought excluding me was the end of the story. They didn't realize they'd just handed me the perfect beginning. Because soon, the family that shut me out would watch my name trend everywhere, and they'd have no idea how it happened. By midweek, I'd convinced myself I was fine. I buried myself in work, editing brand reels, and scheduling campaigns for clients. But every now and then, a notification would pop up on my feed, another pre-wedding post from my family. Countdown to forever. Grace's dream wedding almost here. Each caption felt like a little sting, a reminder that I wasn't part of the fairy tale. That's when my phone buzzed with a call from Nora. "Hey, are you free this weekend?" she asked, excitement buzzing in her voice. "Depends," I said cautiously. "Why?" "I just got booked for a last-minute wedding gig," she said. "It's outdoors, right on the Oregon coast. The couple wants something creative, emotional, not your standard luxury production. They loved my portfolio but want to add a social storytelling angle." I immediately thought of you. I blinked. "Me? You mean actually work at the wedding?" "Exactly. I'll handle photography, and you could capture the real-time social content, behind-the-scenes moments, emotional clips, stories that feel authentic. It's a 2-day thing. They're offering good money, too." For a moment, I hesitated. The timing, the same weekend as Grace's wedding, was almost poetic. Then I smiled. "You know what? I'm in." Nora squealed through the phone. "I knew you'd say yes. We'll leave Friday morning. I'll send you the details tonight." After the call, I sat there for a long time, staring at the calendar. Grace's perfect wedding would unfold at the exact same time I'd be creating something real, something raw. And maybe that was the universe's way of giving me a new chapter. That night, I opened my notebook and began sketching ideas, hashtags, captions, emotional story arcs. I wanted to capture what weddings should be about, connection, not performance. For the first time in weeks, I felt excited again. This wasn't about revenge. It was about rediscovering the beauty of authenticity, the very thing my family always saw as my flaw. And deep down, a tiny voice whispered something I couldn't ignore. Maybe this weekend would change everything. Because while my family obsessed over a picture-perfect wedding, I was about to film one that would make the whole world fall in love, and they'd never see it coming. By Friday morning, my small apartment buzzed with nervous energy. My camera batteries were charging, my backpack was filled with spare SD cards, and my mind was racing with ideas. Nora arrived right on time, hair in a messy bun, iced coffee in hand, and that unstoppable grin of hers. "Road trip mode activated," she announced, tossing her duffel bag into my car. As we drove south toward the Oregon coast, the city slowly disappeared behind us. The air grew salter, the trees taller, and my heart a little lighter. "I still can't believe they didn't invite you," Nora said suddenly, her voice softer now. "Their loss, honestly. You'll be creating something real this weekend, not just another highlight reel for Instagram." I smiled, though a trace of sadness lingered. Maybe it's better this way. Grace's wedding was never about love. It was about presentation. Everything she does has to be perfect. Nora shot me a quick look. "Well, perfection is boring. Authenticity? That's powerful." We reached the coastal lodge by afternoon. It was breathtaking, tall pines swaying above a cliffside view, with the ocean stretching endlessly beyond. The wedding coordinator greeted us with warm smiles and homemade cookies, a far cry from the cold, controlled energy my family thrived on. The bride, Harper, met us a few minutes later, barefoot, laughing, her hair undone by the breeze. "Thank you both for coming on such short notice," she said. "We don't want a polished production. We just want the day to feel like us, honest, imperfect, and full of joy." Her words hit me harder than I expected. Honest, imperfect, full of joy. 3 things my family had spent years avoiding. As Nora began scouting locations for photos, I took my phone and walked toward the edge of the cliffs. The sound of the waves crashing below was both calming and wild, unpredictable, just like me. I started filming short clips, the ocean spray, the laughter from the bridal party, the wind catching Harper's veil. Every frame felt alive.
Real.
And for the first time in forever, I wasn't trying to fit in. I was just creating. That night, as we reviewed the footage, Nora leaned over my shoulder. "You've got something here, Lil. Something different." I looked at the glowing screen, at the beauty that didn't need filters or perfection, and smiled. She was right. I had something real. What I didn't know yet was that the clips I shot that night, the ones born from pain and freedom, were about to change everything and make the entire internet take notice. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of seagulls and the faint crash of waves. Sunlight spilled through the lodge's curtains, painting golden lines across the room. For the first time in weeks, I didn't wake up heavy. I felt inspired. Nora was already up, sipping coffee and sorting camera gear. "Rise and shine, Spielberg," she teased. "The bride's getting ready in an hour." I laughed, tying my hair back. "Let's make some magic." The day unfolded like a dream. Harper and her fiancé, Dylan, were nothing like the couples I'd seen in glossy wedding magazines. They laughed through the chaos, a broken flower arch, wind messing up Harper's veil, and instead of complaining, they just embraced it. I filmed it all. The laughter, the imperfections, the spontaneous moments that no planner could stage. Harper's grandmother dancing barefoot on the grass. Dylan tearing up as he saw Harper for the first time. The ocean roaring behind them as they said their vows. Every second felt raw and alive. When I posted a short 30-second clip on my creator page that evening, just a montage of Harper and Dylan's vows, the crashing waves, and Harper whispering, "This is us," I didn't expect much. It was just a glimpse of beauty I wanted to share. But within hours, the video exploded. Notifications flooded in. Comments like, "This feels so real." Finally, a wedding that isn't fake or staged. I cried watching strangers fall in love. By midnight, the post had over 300,000 views. Nora's jaw dropped when she saw the numbers. "Lillian, do you even realize what's happening? People are obsessed." I sat there, watching the view count tick higher. My heart raced, not from fame, but from validation. For once, people were connecting with something real. Somewhere in the same moment, my family was probably sipping champagne, taking perfectly filtered group selfies at Grace's exclusive wedding. But while their worlds sparkled under chandeliers, mine glowed through authenticity. And the irony? My video wasn't just trending. It was spreading under a new hashtag that viewers had created themselves. Hashtag Real Love Looks Like This. I smiled. Not out of pride, but peace. Because maybe, just maybe, being too dramatic was exactly what the world needed. What I didn't know was that someone from my family was about to see that viral video, and once they did, everything would start to unravel. The next morning, I woke to a flood of notifications. My phone buzzed nonstop. Tags, comments, shares. My clip had officially crossed 1 million views. At first, I couldn't believe it. I scrolled through the comments, each one more emotional than the last. This made me believe in love again. Whoever filmed this, thank you for reminding us what real connection looks like. I want my wedding to feel like this. It was surreal. My little moment of honesty, filmed on a windy cliff, was now touching people around the world. But then, I saw a new notification. A tag from someone I hadn't spoken to in months. Elena Scott tagged you in a post. Elena, my cousin. Grace's sister. My stomach tightened as I clicked the post. It was a screenshot of my video with the caption, "Wait, isn't this Lillian's work?" She wasn't even invited to Grace's wedding and still managed to go viral the same weekend. The comments under her post were a mix of laughter and whispers. "That's awkward. Yikes, imagine the family drama. Maybe she's the talented one after all." My hands trembled slightly. I hadn't done any of this to compete. But now, the timing made it look like I had. Nora noticed my expression over breakfast. "What's wrong?" I handed her my phone silently. She scrolled, then looked up with a wince. Oh no. They saw it, didn't they? I nodded slowly.
Yep.
And judging by the comments, the entire family chat probably exploded by now. I could almost picture it. My mother's disapproving sighs, Grace's fake calm voice trying to sound unbothered, and the subtle humiliation of being outshined by the cousin they'd called too dramatic. I should have felt guilty. But instead, I felt calm. Maybe even liberated. Because I hadn't crashed their event or ruined their plans. I'd simply told a story that resonated more than their perfect facade ever could. And deep down, I knew this wasn't just viral luck. It was justice. Quiet, poetic justice. Still, something told me this was only the beginning. Because the next message I'd receive, the one waiting in my inbox that morning, wasn't from a stranger, it was from Grace herself. The message came early that morning, a simple notification that froze me mid-sip of coffee. Grace, we need to talk. Just 3 words, but they carried years of unspoken tension. I stared at them for a full minute before replying. Me, sure. What's going on? Her response came almost instantly. Grace, don't play innocent. You know exactly what you're doing. My heart skipped. What I'm doing? I took a deep breath before typing back. Me. If this is about the video, Grace, it wasn't planned. I didn't even mention you or your wedding. A pause. Then 3 dots blinked and blinked before her next message arrived. Grace, you posted it the same weekend as mine. People think you were shading us. Mom's been getting calls. Everyone's talking about it. I rubbed my temples, frustration bubbling up. Grace, I muttered aloud, the world doesn't revolve around your hashtags. I typed carefully. Me, I'm sorry if it caused attention, but the timing was just coincidence. It wasn't about you. Her reply hit harder. Grace, coincidence or not, you made yourself the center of attention. Again. You always do. That last line stung more than I wanted to admit. It wasn't the first time she'd said something like that, or the first time I'd been painted as the problem. I could feel old resentment boiling beneath my calm exterior. All those years of being told to tone it down, to not make a scene, to just let things go. But not this time. Me. You know what, Grace? Maybe people finally paid attention because it was real. Because it wasn't fake smiles and perfect filters. There was silence for a long time after that. Then, her final message came. Grace, enjoy your 15 minutes, Lillian. You always wanted the spotlight, now you have it. And just like that, the conversation ended. I stared at the screen, my chest tight, not from guilt, but from clarity. Grace didn't hate that I'd gone viral. She hated that people loved something she couldn't control. And that realization was both painful and liberating. But what neither of us knew then was that my story, the one she accused me of stealing her spotlight with, was about to be picked up by a major wedding media page, and things were about to explode even more. 2 days after Grace's message, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing again, but this time, it wasn't from random comments. I blinked at the screen in disbelief. At the Ever After Journal, one of the biggest wedding lifestyle pages online, had just tagged me in a post. The caption read, "This breathtaking clip by @LillianCreates reminds us that love doesn't need perfection, it needs honesty. #real love looks like this." My jaw dropped. Within minutes, the video was reposted across multiple wedding platforms, racking up millions of additional views. Influencers were sharing it, brides were referencing it in their planning pages, and even small businesses were commenting things like, "This is why we do what we do." Nora nearly screamed when she saw it. "Lillian, you're officially viral. Like, global viral. Do you realize what this means?" I didn't. Not really. I sat there, numb, staring at the glowing screen. Because somewhere between shock and disbelief, I realized something deeper. This wasn't about me anymore. It had become bigger. A movement. People were tagging their own wedding clips under the same hashtag. #real love looks like this, sharing unfiltered moments from their lives. Real emotion. Real connection. Something that my family had always dismissed as too much had now become a worldwide symbol of authenticity. But of course, not everyone was happy about it. A few hours later, my phone rang again. It was Mom. I hesitated, my heart tightening before answering. "Lillian," she said, voice crisp but trembling slightly. "What exactly have you done?" Her words hit like a chill. "Mom, I haven't done anything. I just posted a video." "Well, your video is everywhere. People are comparing it to Grace's wedding and," she paused, lowering her voice, "some are saying yours was more meaningful." I closed my eyes. There it was, the truth she couldn't bear to say aloud. I didn't steal Grace's spotlight. I'd simply built my own. "Maybe people just want something real," I said softly. She sighed, weary. "You've always had to make things complicated, Lillian." "Or maybe," I whispered, "I've just stopped pretending." The silence that followed was deafening. But that silence wouldn't last long, because someone unexpected was about to reach out, someone who would turn this viral story into an opportunity one never saw coming. Later that evening, as the sky outside faded to deep violet, another notification appeared on my phone, one that made me sit up straight. It wasn't a comment or a like. It was a message request. From @Real Heart Productions. I frowned. The name sounded familiar. Then it hit me. They were the production company behind the True Vows Project, a popular documentary series that told real love stories around the world. My heart skipped as I opened the message. "Hi Lillian. We came across your wedding clip and were moved by its honesty and emotion. Would you be interested in a collaboration for our upcoming docuseries about authentic modern love?" For a moment, I couldn't breathe. They wanted me? The same me my family had called too emotional and too unpredictable? Nora nearly dropped her phone when I showed her. "Lillian, do you realize who that is? This is massive. They don't just pick anyone. They choose people who tell truth." I laughed nervously, my hands trembling. "This feels unreal. I'm not even sure I'm qualified for something like that." "Are you kidding?" she said. "That video is the definition of qualified. You made the world feel something real." That night, I sat by my window, reading the message again and again. The ocean outside was just a faint memory now, but I could still hear the waves in my mind, the same rhythm that started it all. I thought about Grace, about my mother, about the years I spent trying to fit into a picture that was never meant for me. And now life was giving me a new frame, one that finally fit. I typed my reply slowly, my heart racing with equal parts fear and excitement. "Thank you so much. I'd love to discuss this further." When I hit send, a sense of calm washed over me, the kind that comes when you stop chasing validation and start owning your truth. Because for the first time, I wasn't reacting to rejection. I was stepping into purpose. But even as this new door opened, I had no idea that my family was about to find out about the offer, and that it would lead to the confrontation I'd been avoiding all my life. It didn't take long for the news to reach my family. 2 days after I accepted the meeting with Real Heart Productions, my phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't from the media. It was from home. The group chat that I had muted months ago was suddenly alive with messages. "Aunt Marlene. Lillian, is it true? You're doing some kind of film thing." "Uncle Ross. So this is why you skipped the wedding?" "Cousin Elena. OMG, my friends are talking about your video at work." And then, finally, the one message I was dreading. "Mom, call me. Now." I hesitated for a long time before pressing dial. The moment she answered, I could hear the sharpness in her breath. "Lillian, what is going on?" she demanded. "Why am I hearing from people, family, neighbors, about some production deal?" I stayed calm. "Because it's true. They saw my video and reached out to collaborate on a docuseries about authentic love." She exhaled heavily, as if the word authentic offended her. "Do you have any idea how this looks? Everyone's comparing it to Grace's wedding. They're saying her video has more emotion, more depth." "Because it does," I interrupted softly. "And that's not a bad thing." Her tone turned colder. "Lillian, this isn't about art. It's about respect. You've made the family look like fools." I closed my eyes.
"No, Mom.
I just stopped pretending we were perfect. There's a difference." Silence stretched between us, the kind that feels heavier than words. Finally, she said, quieter now. Grace is hurt, you know. She thinks you did all this to humiliate her. I didn't, I replied firmly. But maybe she's realizing that attention built on appearances doesn't last. Truth does. There was another pause. Then, in a tone that almost sounded sad, she whispered, "You've changed, Lillian." I smiled faintly.
No, Mom.
I just stopped apologizing for being myself. The call ended there. No goodbye, no closure. Just silence. But this time, that silence didn't scare me. It set me free. Because for the first time, I felt like I wasn't fighting for their approval. I was finally living my truth. What I didn't know was that while I was freeing myself, Grace was planning something of her own, and her next move would shake everything I'd just built. 2 days passed. For a while, things seemed to quiet down, or maybe I was just hoping they would. Then, on a quiet Sunday morning, I woke up to Nora's frantic call. "Lillian, check your phone right now. Grace just posted something." My stomach dropped. "What kind of something?" "Just look," she said, her voice tight. I opened Instagram, and there it was, Grace's new post, already blowing up with comments. It was a picture of her and her husband, smiling in front of their wedding arch. The caption read, "Perfection isn't fake. It's the result of love, effort, and family." Some people confuse drama with depth, but we know the difference. My breath caught. She didn't mention my name, but she didn't have to. Everyone knew. The timing, the tone, it was a direct hit. The comment section was already a battlefield. Oof, is she throwing shade at her cousin? I liked Lillian's video better. Sorry, not sorry. This is so petty. Grace's wedding looked beautiful, though. My DMs started filling up again. Strangers asking if we were fighting, followers taking sides, gossip pages tagging both of us in drama updates. For a moment, I just sat there in bed, phone in hand, my heart pounding. I hadn't asked for any of this. I hadn't wanted a feud. But Grace had turned a family wound into a public spectacle. Nora's voice came through the phone again, softer now. "You okay?" I took a shaky breath. "Yeah, I think so. I just can't believe she'd do this." "Lillian, listen to me," Nora said firmly. "You didn't start this. Don't play their game. You already won by being honest. Don't let her drag you down." Her words grounded me. I turned off my notifications and set the phone down. For the first time, I understood that my story had become something bigger than family rivalry. It wasn't about Grace anymore. It was about truth versus appearance, authenticity versus control. And no matter how loud the noise got, I knew where I stood. But as I was trying to move on, one unexpected message would soon arrive, not from family or friends, but from someone in the media, with an offer that would test everything I believed in. The message arrived on Monday morning, clean, professional, and dangerously tempting. "Hi Lillian, I'm Emma Ross from the Real Lens podcast. We'd love to feature you in our next episode about truth in social media. Your story has inspired thousands, and we'd like to hear your voice, in your own words." I stared at it for a long moment, rereading every line. My first instinct was excitement. The Real Lens wasn't just any show. It was one of the most respected podcasts in digital storytelling. Being featured there could open real doors. But then came the second instinct, fear. Because if I went on record, if I spoke openly, it wouldn't just be my story anymore. It would mean pulling my family into the spotlight, even the parts I'd spent years protecting. Nora's voice snapped me out of my thoughts when I called her. "You have to do it," she said instantly. "This is your chance to control your own narrative before someone else does." "I know," I said quietly, pacing the room. "But what if it backfires? What if it makes things worse with my family?" Nora was silent for a moment, then said gently, "Lil, they already turned you into the villain. Maybe it's time to tell the world who you really are." Her words hit deep. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat at my desk, the glow of my laptop painting faint light across the walls. The email still sat open on the screen, waiting for an answer. My whole life, I'd been told to stay quiet, to smooth things over, to never draw attention. But silence had only ever served everyone else, never me. So, with trembling fingers, I began to type. Hi, Emma. Thank you for reaching out. I'd be honored to share my story, not to defend myself, but to remind people that honesty and emotion aren't weaknesses. When I clicked send, something shifted. For once, I wasn't reacting out of hurt. I was choosing purpose. And though I didn't know what would come next, I felt ready, even for the fallout. What I didn't realize was that my decision to speak publicly would not only change my life, but reveal a secret Grace had been hiding all along. The podcast aired on a Thursday morning. I didn't expect it to blow up the way it did. Within hours, my phone was once again flooded, not with gossip or hate this time, but with gratitude. Messages poured in from people around the world. Thank you for saying what so many of us feel. Your story gave me courage to stop pretending. You reminded me that being emotional isn't a flaw, it's human. For the first time, it felt like my voice mattered. Like all the years of being told to tone it down had finally led somewhere meaningful. The episode wasn't about family drama. I didn't mention Grace's name, or even the wedding. I just spoke about truth, how social media turns vulnerability into spectacle, and how I learned that authenticity isn't weakness but power. By noon, the clip had gone viral again. Major pages were quoting my words. Brands were sharing snippets about realness and emotional honesty. Nora texted me 3 flame emojis and a simple line. You did it, Lil. You turned pain into purpose. I smiled, feeling a calm pride, until my inbox pinged again. It was a message from a name I hadn't seen before, Chloe Jenkins, a freelance journalist. Hi Lillian, I've been following your story. I recently interviewed a few people who attended Grace's wedding, and something came up that might interest you. My chest tightened as I read the next lines. Apparently, the wedding planner admitted that parts of Grace's event, including her vows, were scripted. Every line was rehearsed for camera. Even the spontaneous moments were planned for her social feed. I froze. Grace's secret wasn't scandalous in a tabloid way, but it cut deeper. Her entire perfect wedding, the one my family had excluded me from, was a performance. All that judgment, all that pride, all that exclusion built on something fake. For a long moment, I just stared at the screen, my hands trembling. Not out of anger this time, but sadness. Because I finally understood why Grace hated me so much. My authenticity had exposed her illusion. But what I didn't expect was what came next, because Chloe wasn't just planning to write about it, she wanted me to speak on the record. I must have read Chloe's message at least 10 times. Each word carried weight, not just for me, but for everything that had spiraled since that first video. She wanted me to go on record, to confirm that Grace's wedding wasn't what it seemed. She promised fairness, sensitivity, and control over my quotes. But still, the idea made my stomach twist. If I said yes, the truth would be out there. Undeniable. Irreversible. If I said no, the lie would continue, and I'd become part of it by staying silent. That night, I called Nora. She answered on the first ring. You look like you haven't slept in days, she said after seeing my face on the screen. I haven't, I admitted. Chloe Jenkins wants me to confirm what she found out about Grace's wedding. She says the story could inspire authenticity in the wedding industry. Nora hesitated. That's a nice way of saying it'll expose your cousin to the world. I know, I whispered. And I don't want revenge, Nora. I just want peace. But if I keep quiet, it feels like I'm betraying everything I stood for. She leaned forward, voice gentle. Then ask yourself this. Are you telling the story to heal or to hurt? That question hung in the air long after our call ended. I sat in silence, staring out my window. The city lights shimmered like fragments of my thoughts, scattered, uncertain, but still shining. For years, my family had chosen appearances over honesty. And maybe that was why truth felt so heavy now, because I was the first one to carry it out loud. By midnight, I opened my laptop again and began typing a reply to Chloe. Thank you for reaching out. I appreciate your professionalism, but this isn't my story to expose. Some truths reveal themselves without needing a microphone. I hit send and felt something strange, Not relief, not regret, something in between. Because I realized that strength isn't always about speaking louder. Sometimes, it's about knowing when silence means integrity, not defeat. But I didn't know that Grace herself had already read Chloe's draft, and her next move would force me back into the spotlight whether I wanted it or not. I found out what Grace had done through a notification I wasn't even supposed to see. It was late Friday afternoon when Nora sent me a screenshot. Her message said only 3 words. She posted it. I opened it, and my heart sank. Grace had uploaded a long Instagram story thread. Her voice trembled in the video, perfectly fragile, perfectly rehearsed. "I've stayed silent for too long," she began, eyes glossy under perfect lighting. "I never wanted my private life to become public drama, but certain people keep pushing this narrative that my wedding was fake. That hurts." She paused, letting the emotion simmer. "The truth is, not everyone can handle someone else's happiness. Some people thrive on chaos, and when they can't control you, they try to rewrite your story." Every word felt like a bullet wrapped in sugar. She never said my name, but it was obvious. The comments section exploded within minutes. "She's totally talking about Lillian. Wow, so all that authenticity stuff was fake? Team Grace forever." My phone started buzzing nonstop again, messages, tags, even interview requests from media outlets wanting a reaction. Nora called instantly. "Lil, don't say a word online. Not one." "I'm not going to," I said quietly, staring at the chaos unfolding on my screen. That's what she wants, for me to fight back publicly. "You okay?" she asked. "I will be," I said, though my voice cracked slightly. Because as much as it hurt, I finally saw it clearly. Grace wasn't evil. She was scared. The truth threatened the image she'd spent years building, and she'd do anything to protect it. So instead of fighting her, I opened my notes app and began to write. Not a response, but a message to myself. I don't need to prove my truth. Time always reveals what silence conceals. I didn't post it. I didn't need to. For the first time, I didn't let her define the story. I just let it unfold. Naturally, honestly. And as it turned out, I wasn't the only one watching quietly. Because someone else, someone much closer to Grace, was about to break the silence in a way none of us saw coming. The revelation came from the last person anyone expected, Grace's husband, Daniel. It started quietly, almost unnoticed. On a random Tuesday morning, Daniel posted a short video to his account, one that usually stayed private. But this time, the caption read, "It's time to stop pretending." Within minutes, the internet caught fire. I clicked on the video, my hands shaking. Daniel looked exhausted, not the polished, smiling man from Grace's wedding posts. His eyes were puffy, his voice trembling. "I know there's been a lot of talk lately," he began softly. "About the wedding, about family, about truth. And I think people deserve to hear it from me." He took a deep breath. "Yes, parts of the wedding were staged. The planner rehearsed our vows. Grace wanted everything to look perfect on camera. But what hurts most is that we stopped being real, not just that day, but long before it." The silence between each word was deafening. I didn't want to say anything, but watching people tear down Lillian when she was the only one being honest. "I can't stay quiet anymore," I gasped. He had said my name.
Publicly.
The video spread like wildfire. In less than an hour, millions had seen it. Comment sections flooded with shock, support, disbelief, and, for the first time, understanding. Wait, Lillian was telling the truth? Grace's own husband just exposed her? This is heartbreaking. I didn't know whether to cry or breathe. I just sat there in silence, my heart pounding. Then, another notification, a message from Daniel himself. "I'm sorry you were blamed for everything. You didn't deserve that. Maybe now they'll finally see who you really are." For a long time, I just stared at the screen, tears in my eyes. Not from victory, but from relief. Because after months of noise, someone else had finally spoken the truth. And this time it wasn't me. But the fallout from Daniel's confession was just beginning, and when Grace finally responded, what she said would change everything again. Grace stayed silent for 2 full days. In the world of viral chaos, that was an eternity. Every hour, speculation grew. Videos analyzing Daniel's confession, news outlets debating the truth behind the perfect wedding, and strangers on every platform taking sides like it was a movie. I stayed quiet through it all. I didn't post. I didn't comment. I didn't even open my messages. Then, on the third night, Grace finally broke her silence. She went live. The notification popped up unexpectedly. Grace went live, 3,200 viewers. Nora called me instantly. "Are you watching this?" "I am now," I whispered, opening the stream. Grace sat in her living room, no makeup, eyes swollen from crying. For the first time, she didn't look like the curated version of herself. She looked human. "I know a lot of people are angry," she began softly. "And maybe I deserve it." Her voice trembled. Daniel told the truth. The wedding wasn't real, not the way it should have been. I wanted perfection because I was scared. Scared that if things weren't flawless, people would see the cracks in my life in me. She wiped her eyes, trying to steady her breath. "Lillian, if you're watching this, I'm sorry. Not for excluding you, but for making you feel like you had to prove yourself to be loved. You were right. Authenticity isn't chaos. It's courage." My throat tightened. For the first time in months, I didn't feel anger toward her, just sadness. Because behind all the filters, behind every carefully chosen caption, Grace was as lost as I had been. "I built a perfect image," she continued, her voice breaking. "But I lost myself inside it." When the stream ended, the internet was stunned. No arguments. No drama. Just silence. And in that silence, something shifted, not just online, but inside me too. Because forgiveness, I realized, wasn't about erasing what happened. It was about choosing peace over pride. But as the world processed Grace's confession, one final truth was about to surface, one that would bring my entire family face to face again for the first time since it all began. A week after Grace's live video, my family decided to meet. No cameras. No posts. No audience. Just us. It felt strange walking into my parents' house again, the same hallway where years of unspoken tension hung like dust in the air. My heart thudded in my chest as I saw everyone gathered: my mom, dad, uncles, aunts, and Grace. She stood by the window, looking smaller than I remembered. When our eyes met, she smiled, not her perfect, camera-ready smile, but something real. "Hey," she said softly. "Hey," I replied. The room was heavy with silence until my mom spoke first. "We've all made mistakes," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "And maybe we forgot what family actually means." Grace nodded. "I know I did." She turned toward me. "Lillian, you were right. I was so focused on being admired that I forgot how to be genuine. I'm sorry for everything. The wedding, the words, the distance." Tears stung my eyes, but I smiled through them. We both got lost in our own ways. Maybe this was how we were meant to find our way back. For the first time in years, my family laughed together. Not perfectly, not politely, but honestly. We spent hours talking, not about followers or reputation, but about forgiveness, about being human. It wasn't magical or easy, but it was real. As the evening sun poured through the windows, I realized something profound. The chaos that once tore us apart had become the reason we learned how to rebuild. Grace and I hugged before leaving. "No more filters?" I joked. She laughed. "Only real ones." When I stepped outside, the air felt lighter. For the first time, I wasn't carrying the weight of proving myself. I was simply being myself. I took out my phone, opened my camera, and hit record. If you've ever felt misunderstood or excluded by your own family, I began softly. Remember this: you don't need their approval to be worthy. Speak your truth with kindness, live with honesty, and let time do the healing. I smiled into the lens. Because sometimes the most dramatic thing you can do is forgive. If Lillian's story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful stories about courage, truth, and second chances. Your story matters. Tell it, live it, own it.